and welcome to the Grown Black Woman Success Podcast, a conversation about the joys and challenges that come with achieving success, all from a grown Black woman's perspective. I'm your host, Leslie Denman. Let's get this conversation started. This month is the month that we celebrate love. We have Valentine's Day, but it is also Black History Month. And I'm so excited to have my friend, my girl, Lady Trenette Wilson here. She's no stranger. You've heard her on Real Grown Woman Talk. Now she's here on the Grown Black Woman Success Podcast. Welcome, Lady T. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Leslie.
Yes, I am so excited to talk. And you guys have to know, this lady is just beyond talented. She's a serial entrepreneur, Black excellence personified. So I don't want to do you any injustice. So just share with us a little bit about who Lady T is.
Well, thank you so much. Lady T is just an old Texas girl who want to make a difference in people's lives, who want to help women pursue the dreams they have of impacting their community. So I am the founder of the National Association of Urban Etiquette Professionals, the largest etiquette association in the nation serving urban communities. And I am just, I love what we do. We go into urban communities, and it doesn't matter if it's adults or children, teenagers, and we instill etiquette. So we teach etiquette classes. We certify women and men who want to teach etiquette and debutante training. So that's basically what I do. I empower people to be their best.
Oh, right. See, it's not so much different. You can read a bio and all of that, but when you just share it, people get to feel and hear the essence of who you are. And this month, Black History Month, you've done something very unique and special, because in Black history, typically we talk about the past and the challenges we've overcome, remembering those, our civil rights leaders and all of that. But you put a different little spin on it, and I absolutely love it. And that's really why we're here today. And I'm telling you, I was like, now, you know what? It's just like Lady T to do something like this. But talk to me about, she is an author. She didn't share that. How many books do you have right now, Lady T?
I've written 52 books.
Did you hear her say that again? How many books?
52.
52.
And about 15 of those have been as a ghostwriter.
I'm telling you, I told you, she's just absolutely phenomenal. And her latest release is really, I'm gonna let her talk about it, but it just, royal, Black, and elite. Tribute to Black nobility and the pioneers of etiquette and Black history. Talk to us first of all, the title. How did you come up with the title?
It's so funny, Leslie. When I first came up with this title, it was going to be the history of royalty and Black, and it was just really enormous and long. And one night during prayer, God said 3 words: royal, Black, and elite.
Okay.
And He said, that is all you need to say. And I have sold more of these books than any book that I've ever written, because of that little short title that is very clear on what it is: royal, Black, and elite.
The cover is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell us how did this, what was your mindset when you wrote the book? We know how you got the title, but what did you hope to accomplish when you wrote this book?
Well, my greatest goal, Leslie, was trying to give a different view, a different side of Black history. Like you mentioned in your introduction, oftentimes during Black history, we're seen from a place of oppression. Mm-hmm. But in fact, we were rulers from day one.
Come on.
And so a lot of times that doesn't get highlighted. And
Right.
so what I wanted to do was to give the children, adults, everybody a view of 26 amazing royals, nobles, elite in art and in business, and of course the etiquette pioneers. So my hope was to highlight the people that are more hidden in Black history, but boy, they played a significant role in the upliftment of Black people.
Now, how did you select those individuals?
That was the hardest thing. 26 people out of the thousands of people. Yeah. But what I did was I selected people, of course, who were royals. So we only have 2 royals in Black history who sat on the throne of England. Oh. Queen Charlotte. Okay. Right now in this show, Bridgerton, people are seeing her.
Yeah, I love it.
Wasn't she a mess, girl? But also Queen Philippa Hanault was the first Black woman to sit on the throne of England. She was Queen Edward's wife. And she actually ruled for about 40 years and ruled within his absence. Now, these people were what they called back then mulattoes. They were mixed race people, but they loved their Black race, and they certainly helped finance a lot of the Black movements that happened during that time.
Awesome. I love it. That is a beautiful, it's really a beautiful thing that we don't forget that, as you said, yes, we have overcome as a people, but before we became slaves and were brought here, as they say, we stood in just royalty. Who we are is just royalty. That's our ancestors, they kings and queens, and we've lost sight of that, over the years. And I want to thank you for just being available to be used to remind us of that, especially our young people. So many times we forget, and so we're not able. And that's one of the things I love so much about my upbringing, being a little country girl. Your family history was like poured into you. It's Absolutely. Like you are a Jones and you are a Bryant, and we don't act like that. Hold your head up. And, here's what it means to be a woman. And now we just kind of so busy trying to be bosses and be this and be that we are forgetting our history, and therefore our foundation is not solid. And I thank you for, being able to share that with us, because everybody can't do it the way Lady T does it. So I am so excited about that. And I will be getting my copy of the book. Every Black person needs to have something like this in their library.
Well, we do, and we need to know the truth.
Yes.
So, for example, in this book, you'll meet Alexandre Dumas. And Mr. Dumas was a French African writer, and he wrote, now hold your mule, he wrote, and I never knew a Black man wrote any of this stuff, Robin Hood, The Three Musketeers, The Nutcracker Ballet, and Count of the Monte Cristo. A Black man wrote all 4 of those, and as we well know, they are the birthplace of adventure novels. And so if you watch Iron Man or any of those, they came out of this man's mind. He was the forerunner. Every time you see the Nutcracker Ballet, no one ever says a Black man wrote this.
Yeah. And that's we are so interwoven into this society. They, in this culture, and they try to deny it, and they, but again, it's people like you who do the research to educate those of us who, many of us, it's not our jam. Everybody is different, and we all flow and move in our own zone of geniuses. And it's individuals like you to remind us of our history, because I'm amazed sometimes. Black History Month and just throughout the year, I'm like, we invented that too? I said, well, they done took everything from us. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's the real life. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about.
Well, I always say, he who holds the pen tells the story.
Yes.
So if you have an opportunity to tell a story about your people, I felt like it needed to be positive. It needed to be the truth about who we are. I was so taken aback to find out Mary Todd Lincoln's, Abraham Lincoln's wife, her seamstress was a Black woman. named Madam Keekley. And Madam Keekley was one of the richest seamstress of her time. And she sewed for her and all of the president's wives and the senators' wives. And she had a whole staff of sewers who would sew. We are talking about 1865.
Man. All right, since we're talking about presidential and stuff, who were some of our socialites during that time?
Oh, yeah. So we had one in America who was one of the biggest ones, and her name was Josephine Bill Wilson Bruce. Now, Miss Josephine was the first African-American socialite. She was the wife of Blanche Bruce, who was the first senator in America. And so she was ostracized a lot of times by the other community, the European community, because of her race. She was nonetheless a forerunner, a trailblazer in style and grace, and she represented the Black race beautifully every time she represented her husband. So Josephine Wilson Bruce, our first Black socialite. They actually were part of the richest families in Philadelphia. So if you can imagine, back in 1860s, $150,000 made you the richest person in your city.
Wow.
Which would be millions today.
Okay. Wow. And it's so refreshing, so empowering and inspiring to hear where we've come from and whose shoulders we're really standing on. I look at some of the things that we have accomplished as women, but we forget to pay homage and tribute to these women who withstood the racism and when we think about racism now, pales in comparison to what they experienced back then.
Well, to give you a perfect example with, some of we have men in this book as well, but, because women were not allowed to really own land or anything like that. And so we had one lady, she owned land, but she had to put it in someone else's name. And because she had to put it in someone else's name, when he died, he got everything. His wife got everything and she got nothing. So I believe not only is this just a look back on the past, but it also gives people some understanding about their own situation today. So Miss Pleasant, she was in San Francisco, and she was a multimillionaire. She and a man named Mr. Bell, they were partners. And because she was Black, he had to buy everything in his name. And Miss Pleasant actually helped finance John Brown's raid at Harper's Ferry. She gave him $30,000. And rumor has it they were lovers, but you didn't get that from me.
Okay, let me sip my tea on that one, honey. Rumor has it. The word on the street is.
Word on the history curve is that they were lovers. Honey, there had to be something for her to give him $30,000.
I'm going to say about 30 G's.
And today, that $30,000 would have been $300,000.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, look,
and so that tells you how rich this woman was. Yes.
Wow.
And unfortunately, she died in poverty because of the business dealings not being done right. And the wife walked away with all the money.
Yeah.
So I think it brings lessons for us as business owners today to know what our ancestors did, to make money, to lose money, to build relationships. We cannot throw our ancestors away to recreate the wheel. They've done a lot of the work for us. We just need to read about it so we can kind of follow in their footsteps.
Absolutely. Speaking of reading about it, where can we purchase the book?
Yes. All right. You can go to www.nauep, that's like in Paul.com. Or you can go to Amazon and just put Royal Black and Elite in the search, and that book will pop up. And we greatly appreciate you supporting Black history, and especially Royal Black history. If we don't start telling these stories, our children are going to forever be looked at as lower class people. And not only that, they look at each other as lower class people. So I pray that this book begins to lift all of us up as a community.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. What we know the reason why you did the book, what you really want to happen as a result of this book. like when you were thinking about writing it, the greater why.
Yeah.
And that's so important that we look beyond right now, because the reason we're looking back in history, then we got to remember that our children's children are going to be looking back on history. And we want to make sure that that history is represented properly and correctly.
That's right.
Again, I thank you so much for making sure and reminding us of the royalty that we come from and who we are at the core. You know, with everything that's happening in our culture, it's so easy to focus on the negative and all of that. But to remember, you know what? If they can survive in that type of culture and climate, which is not much different, but a lot different, then surely we can find a way to not only survive, but to thrive. The door is open. I said this before, that this is the year, and I believe it wholeheartedly. Some people said it was last year, but I said that this is the year of the Black woman.
Amen.
I say that this is the year for the Black woman to really arise and take her place. We've been beat down so much, just the culture of how they have attacked our Black men. And so we've had to be mother and father, and we haven't had that support of uncles and brothers, you know, that village, that strength and protection to cover us. And now with this criminal justice reform and all of these things that are happening, it is time for us as women to, one, is really bring the honor back to motherhood. And that is very key, and something that I don't know how I've become so passionate about that here lately. But if we, you know, that quote that I love, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And that is so true. And all of our young women, if they realize that they could be rocking the next Black president, we used to say the first, but now we can say the next Black president, the next physicist and rocket scientist, the next billionaire. That, you know, the door is wide open, but it's gonna, I believe it's gonna take us as Black women to remember that we are royalty.
There it is. And I think it also, we have to stop letting the rocks cry out.
Yes.
In our place.
Yes.
So a lot of times social media or reality TV will be the template what girls use as, okay, this is what a Black woman looks like. And this is how she behaves. And so I thought it real important to bring the conversation back to really what we came from. Yes. Black women were so high class that when they went to church, they used to have hats, gloves, and umbrellas that matched the whole outfit.
Okay, because that was the one place that we could be ourselves.
Yes.
The one place, it was like the social scene.
Exactly. Well, and now we find out that the fashion and the beauty and the just the essence of flawless that we are really came from our ancestors. And in fact, one man we have on here named Jarab was a African, a Moor, and he invented, now check this out, he invented the courses of a meal, you know, the first course, the second course, and the third course, Black man. And he invented eating on plates for Europeans. So back in that time, the reason there was so much disease, plague, Black death is because the Europeans were quite unsanitary. And they would just put the food directly on the table. And they would eat with their hands. Where Zarab came in and introduced eating on silver plates and using utensils. And so I don't know that Black people really understand how much etiquette played in our uplift throughout history. We did it through that way. We did it through being the maid or being the butler, where we ran everything at the house. And what people don't realize that oftentimes the person who they were working for left them an inheritance. And so a lot of times that's how Blacks started their businesses.
Wow.
What I like to see in this book is that I don't want to tear anybody else down. I'm just trying to lift us up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, when you were researching these individuals, is there one in particular that you were just kind of like, wow, I did not know that. Like, seriously, I did not know that.
I tell you, all of them were like that. I mean, you're talking about the most interesting people who came from slavery. Some came from, they weren't slaves, but they lived in the North and were discriminated against. But one man in particular I thought was kind of interesting. He was Mr. James Wormley. He was the first owner and a Black owner of a hotel in Washington, D.C. called the Wormley Hotel. Well, years later, we come to find out that Mr. Wormley was also the first FBI agent. So he would use his hotel to get information from the guests who would come and stay there. And so he would be the first op in history.
Wow. Wow. Now that shot, now, yeah, that would have got me too. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And let me tell you, nothing is new under the sun. The same tactics they used back then, they're using today. So James Wormley didn't own that hotel because he had worked so hard or whatever. He did work hard though, but they gave him the money so that he could set up the hotel. So a lot of times Black people, if you see something go up real big, real fast, it's usually the government or somebody that came in there to pay them for a reason or so. So I think we can learn a lot of good lessons in this book.
Oh yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it, honey. That could be a class. That could be the new Black history book. You know, we're not gonna talk about what the school is sharing with our young people now. But
well, the wonderful part is I've been getting calls from schools and libraries across the country. Yes.
And even though that is a beautiful thing, but mom and dad, get the book and teach and share with your children. That's when it's really powerful.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Lady T should never disappoint. I'm telling you, she's such an inspiration.
Thank you.
So, I'm telling you, I'm so honored. Every time I talk to you, it's like something new. I'm like, girl, what you got going on now? Because I'm always learning something. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to just see people flowing in their gifts and their anointing. And you certainly do not disappoint. We're talking about Royal, Black, and Elite. It is the newest release from Lady Trenette Wilson. And tell us again where we can purchase. Tell us again where we can invest in our history.
Amen. I love the way, and that's what I call it, an investment. It needs to be on in my opinion, in everybody's Black African-American history library, if you have one. And I suggest you all get one because the internet changes every day, but a book, you can go to it and really find out. And you can log on to www.nauep.com or go out to Amazon and you can purchase it from there as well. Barnes and Noble, we're pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. We wish you so much continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for stopping by the Grown Black Woman Success Podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed this conversation. We're going to ask you to, as always, give us a thumbs up, leave a positive review. We come from royalty. I'm like so inspired right now. Like it ain't like I didn't know that, but when you are reminded of that, it's like, girl, please, Yes. But thank you so much, Lady T. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of the Grown Black Woman Success Podcast.
Yes.
Love to hear your feedback. Be sure to again share or leave a comment. Until our next conversation. Chin up, shoulders back. Now, strut girl, you know you got it like that.